Dear Mark, I know you're really busy flying back and forth to your island in Hawaii, your private island, in your big jet. And I know, traveling with whatever that huge security entourage in the second plane and then another plane filled with publicists behind that, or in a helicopter behind that with security people in it. It just must be just the layers of stuff around you. I'm sure, if I wrote you a letter, you'd never see it. So I'm gonna record this podcast as a letter to you. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the cannabis goldsmith.
We're the cannabis goldsmiths.
And this morning, I got a notification from Instagram that my content wasn't going to be distributed on the platform anymore. And there were 3 buttons. There was 2 buttons and a third button that said appeal. That's the one I clicked. Now, I have no idea why you did this, because we're a jewelry company, Mark. We of course, we're inspired by cannabis plants, but we sell jewelry, precious metals jewelry. We're a member of the Canadian Jewelers Association. We're an authorized user of Canada's rare national precious metals mark. We had to go through an investigation by the Competition Bureau in order to get permission to use this special mark on our products. We're a luxury jeweler. So whether or not we're inspired by cannabis doesn't matter. We're a business and a luxury jeweler, and yet somehow your Instagram has decided to block us. But you see, I already knew you were doing it anyway. We were being shadow banned. I know you guys don't like using the word shadow banned, but I had a sense it was happening anyway because nobody was seeing our content. I was putting pictures up on our Instagram page, and it wasn't getting traffic. But you see, I'm an old internet dude, and I understand why you're doing this, generally speaking, and that's because you want to monetize. You want to suck more money out of the people who use your platform. And not only do you want to curate the content, which you're not doing. You're not really doing it. You're curating the wrong content here, obviously. But anyway, you want to monetize. I understand that. Sure, I accept that. But because you sent me that notice, that gives me the opportunity to talk to you in this way. Because you see, my company that I've run since 1993, even before your company existed, it's a Canadian company. We're proud to be Canadian. We make jewelry inspired by the cannabis plant, inspired by the cannabis community. Now, let me tell you, Mark, that I don't promote cannabis use on our Instagram page. I promote jewelry. That's what I do, precious metals jewelry. But you see, you don't know that because you're so in a little bubble wherever the fuck you are. Now, I've advised a lot of people on my podcast not to trust any of the platforms, yours included. I think you're all a bunch of douchebags, and you're all just sucking creativity out of the world, and you're sucking money out of the world, and you're destroying people's lives. The content you're aiming at young people is getting them to cut themselves and kill themselves. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So I'm starting to think about this in another way. Why should I have my content on your platform? Why? Our products are amazing. They don't kill people. They don't cause social unrest in countries and riots. Our products make people feel great. People are proud to wear our products. I'm not proud to be on Instagram. I'm definitely not. Even before this, it's like if you've ever been to a casino and seen a slot machine and those three wheels going around with fruit pictures on them. That's what it's become, one of those wheels, just like a stream of fruit pictures going up. This is, it's great. You want to emulate TikTok, Mark, so you can monetize, you can speed everything up and increase the monetization. But, our products are slow. We work out a design. We carefully draw it out. We make prototypes of a ring or a bracelet. We engage with our clients continuously throughout the process. We send them pictures of the piece as it's being developed. The client gets to see the jewelry piece all the way through the whole process from design till they get it delivered to them and they can put it on their finger. This is what our products are about. It's not like a slot thing, like an endless stream of fucking marketing content. This has no interest to me, Mark. And in fact, the reason I started this podcast was to explore other channels so that I don't have to advertise on your platform. I don't have to do that. I don't want to buy ads on your platform because, frankly, I'm afraid my ad for my product might get positioned next to something that might cause a young woman to cut herself on your platform. So, Mark, I think the onus is on you to come to us to get our content on your site, not the other way around. You know what? That's what I think. And for artists, I'm a bit angry today because I guess it's my hope has been dashed. I thought, perhaps, no, I had no hope about it. I knew that this platform had no future. And, when I see my fellow jewelers, there's a jeweler friend I have in Toronto. His pieces are fucking amazing. He does brilliant work with diamonds and engagement rings and stuff. And he produces these videos for Instagram that don't get any circulation. He must spend a fortune on producing these videos. He can't do it himself like me. He's a brilliant fucking jewelry designer. And he spends all his time, paying somebody to produce a video to put on Instagram, and it gets like 12 views. Now this is the problem. We have some sort of idea in our mind that Mark, you've put this idea in the minds of your users. The users is a good word here. The people who are using Instagram, you put this idea in their mind that their post has some potential to go viral. No post has the potential to go viral on Instagram anymore. None. Ours especially, because we've just been notified. But yours don't either. It's entirely up to him and whether he wants, whether Mark wants people to advertise or not on the platform. So certainly Meta is better for a company, like a huge company like these giant multinational listed corporations that own like 20 jewelry companies, these old maisons and these huge companies. See, Instagram is good for them because they can pump out ads, they have huge ad budgets, and this is great. But for small jewelers in the world or artists, Instagram is not the place to be. It's totally a waste of time and money. And if you don't believe me, just do it. Just see it if you can get circulation. Now, they were really cute. Mark was really cute in his little pop-up to me. He said, "Oh, I can get circulation if I buy advertising." So, I mean, my stuff is not bad enough it's not bad for the platform. They just want to monetize it. I wish he had just been honest. Mark, you should have just said, "Look, I want to monetize your content, dude." Had you just said that and been honest with me, I wouldn't have made this podcast about you. But you're not only doing this to me, you're doing this to a lot of people. Now, I don't know what triggered this, but and perhaps it will be undone or maybe not, but I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. And in fact, this frees me up because now the time that I could devote to putting pictures or little videos on the Instagram feed, I can devote even more time to making our jewelry the most amazing jewelry products in the world. Anyway, I've been very vocal about why Canadians need access to. I didn't even want to mention politics in this podcast at all, but I will say, and I am not looking for any kind of praise for doing this, and this is not a virtue signal at all. But what I've been doing for the past 4 years is fighting the internet bills that are controlling Meta in Canada, that are attempting to control Meta, Google, and other platforms in Canada. I've been fighting hard against these bills on my own and with a small group of people, news publishers, media publishers in Canada, because we feel that the platforms need to be open. We don't want the government controlling our internet. And you know what? I'm disappointed that Meta would take an action like this against me or my company, but that's not gonna stop me from trying to defend internet freedoms in my country, in Canada. I think it's really important. As if you've listened to this podcast before, you know that I started the first magazine website in Canada in 1993. This is well before Facebook, well before Google. We were one of the first internet companies in Canada with a site, with a customer-facing site, the first one in Canada. Now, this is why I'm so active in trying to keep the internet open for new companies, for jewelers, for artists, so we can talk about our products and get word out about our products. But these channels are all being closed off to us for commercial purposes, like Mark Zuckerberg is doing now to snuff out anything that he can't monetize, or by the government that wants to control the speech in our country to keep themselves in power. Basically, this is what's happening in our country now. And I've been fighting hard, and I'm not getting anywhere. They've passed these bills. They're just sitting there waiting, these laws in Canada, and they're waiting to implement them, and they're really bad, I have to tell you. One controls, one law, C11, controls user-generated content. So that's posts on Instagram or Meta or replies to forums. It's everything and anything. It can be audio, video, whatever. If it's posted by an individual, the government can control that. And then C18 is the other bill that controls news. You might have heard about if you're listening to this outside Canada. It's the reason why Canadians can't see news content on Facebook or Meta properties anymore. So maybe that's why my site, my Instagram page is being suppressed like this. You know, who knows? Like I have no idea. But this is my whole point about Meta. Why you shouldn't count on Meta at all. Not at all. I mean, in fact, you should. I knew this was going to happen, and I said so in earlier podcasts. Don't count on them because they'll do this. They'll pull the rug out from under you. Google has done it to us before. Since our involvement, I've had involvement with Google since they started the company. So, and over the time, there are little updates with search algorithms and shit that change, that just destroy businesses. I've seen all this, so I understand how fickle these big platforms can be. But nevertheless, I want Canadians to be able to access these platforms to talk about stuff and to be able to promote our wares. Like my jewelry is of the highest quality on the planet, and we have permission to use our country's highest quality precious metals mark on our products. I don't get teens to cut themselves. You do. My God. Now that I've got that out of my system. No, I haven't got it out of my system yet. If you want, I'm going to put in the show notes some people I respect who can give clear, balanced views on tech. If you're a podcast listener and you're not listening to these podcasts, you should. The first one is my mentor, Kara Swisher. She does a podcast called the Pivot Podcast with Scott Galloway. So subscribe to that and listen to that, and she'll give you a balanced view of what these tech billionaires are doing. Scott Galloway has his own show. He has a bunch of them, so search him out. Prof G, he's called. He's a professor and a smart dude, and he understands he's a capitalist, and he can explain it well. So it's worth listening to him to see what these people are doing to us, what Mark Zuckerberg is doing to us and our kids, right? So I'm going to put their pods in the show notes. If you've never heard of them before, subscribe. Try to give them a listen. They're two of my favorite pods, and as I said, I consider Kara a mentor as a journalist and as an early tech person like myself. Let's get into the show. It's already half over. I've just reamed out Mark Zuckerberg, my letter to Mark Zuckerberg. So what am I doing to get around this? So first off, I hit the appeal button. Let's see what happens to that. But in the meantime, I'm still shooting content for the website. I've been thinking a lot about doing a television show, actually. I don't want Gatekeepers, so it's not going to be on a platform. I think I just might launch it into a torrent site and see what happens there. I upload it to a torrent site and set it free in that respect. So I'm sort of considering doing that, creating a television show, not for distribution on a platform, but for people to find themselves and download. These days, because the platforms are so unreliable, we have to figure out ways to market our products and to talk to customers. We don't want platforms getting in the way of that. We don't want the middleman fucking inserting themselves in between us and the customers. As an artist or designer, you don't want Mark Zuckerberg getting in between you and your client. You just don't. And so anything I can do to get around that, not deal with that, to get him out of the way, to boot him to the curb, to stick him in the trash, to just push him aside, to connect directly with the customer, that's the thing to do. That is the thing to do. So anyway, part of the reason this podcast is here is that I wanted a way to connect with customers, to talk about our products in a deeper way that we could, if somebody really had the patience, or if they sort of were on the fence about buying a product for us, they could go into this archive of podcasts to know where we're coming from and how we think and how I think about our products, about cannabis, about jewelry design. It's a way that somebody could do, to look up and see what we're about in audio, right? And if they like it, they could subscribe. But if not, whatever, I could just pop in for one episode. If they want to find out about sapphires or about wedding rings or something, that's what I figured we would use the audio for. And that's what I'm doing. This is already episode 32. I'm quite shocked. So Meta, fuck you. Fuck you, Meta. And Mark Zuckerberg, you're a douchebag. You are a total douchebag. Anyway, what was it? Where was I? Oh, yeah, we need channels. So, I'm doing a podcast. I'm writing a column in a local arts magazine. Even though my clients are American, I'm right on the border here with the United States. So a lot of Americans come over and they pick up the local arts mag. I'm looking at all these other unexplored marketing areas that we must look at, because the platforms are stifling everything else, or they're sucking out money out of the middle, out of the relationship between you and your client. They're going to try and suck money out of the middle. Or the politicians are going to come in like they're doing in Canada, and they're going to control the communication space like they've done. They're almost there. They've passed these laws, and now they're just developing the structures, the regulations in order to implement them. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. They get in the way between you, the person, the designer, the manufacturer, and your customer. It's just not right. But this is where we are, and this is what we have to deal with. Douchebag billionaires and douchebag governments. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just communicate with customers directly? So that's what I'm trying to do. But anyway, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a TV show. This was the secret project I was working on. Now, I don't know what shape it's going to take. I'm still trying to work out the shape of it. But I know it'll be about the way it'll be like the podcast, about the way we produce the jewelry. It might be photographs, close-up photographs woven into video. There's a show that I saw called Painting with John. If you have, I don't know if it's on one of these you'll get it on a streaming service. He's a painter. He's a dude. He lives in some like tropical Caribbean country. And he's a dude who paints, and he just him and a camera and a videographer recording him, and he's talking and stuff. And it's really quite simple as a construct of a show, but it's excellent, and it's kind of different, and it's not for everybody. But like our products are not for everybody. Our products are for a rare group of people who appreciate cannabis and who appreciate fine jewelry and precious metals. Now that's our customer, right? And our customer's a slower customer. Our customer's not a slot machine customer, not an Instagram, not a TikTok customer, where the stream of marketing crap is being pulled across your eyes, your visual field. This is not our customer. No, our customer is sitting on the back by the pool, smoking a huge spliff. That's our customer. Or our customer is the stock bro in New York who wants a sterling silver grinder that weighs a half pound of sterling silver, a half pound like bullion in this grinder, who wants a grinder like this. This is what we make. We can make him a grinder. My God, we can make it in 10 karat gold if he wants. We can set it with diamonds too. Like, this is our specialty, And we'll make it right here in Canada with the finest materials. So, or maybe he wants a cannabis bud lapel pin for an award show, studded with diamonds. Where is he going to go for that? He's going to come to Tribe in Canada because we're the cannabis goldsmith. We're the world's luxury cannabis jeweler. But you see, you'll never hear about it on Instagram because the cutting videos are getting priority. Okay, that's enough about Instagram. I'm gonna explore new ways to market our products. I'm gonna keep going. You probably heard a bit of anger in this podcast, and I am angry because and I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting these stupid internet laws in Canada. I'm tired of it. Only now the Canadian journalists are starting to catch on that their livelihoods are in jeopardy. Only now. They understood that the newspaper industry was over, but that they were working at these media platforms, these digital platforms, like the former newspapers that turned into news sites. And they thought they were all safe and warm there, but no. The government is coming to control them. And, I was warning them this was happening. There was a few of us. There's a law professor in Ottawa I'll put a link to his content in our show notes too. Michael Geist, who's been on this since the beginning and covering this. He's a law professor, and he's been following what this government is trying to shut down communications in Canada for their own benefits. And anyway, I put a link to that. These show notes are going to be quite robust this week. Oh, God. I really didn't want to do a podcast about politics or meta or any of this shit, but here you have it. Anyway, okay, I'm going to stop with that now, and you'll get at least 4 minutes of art stuff from me. God. All the festivals are happening now in southeastern Ontario. This is a rural area, and if you're in North America, I don't know if they do this in Europe, but they do it in the States. I know like in Vermont and New Hampshire. I mean, all these agricultural areas. This is the time when the fairs are happening, the fall fairs, the harvest fairs. In these little communities like where I am now, if the town is too small to have a fall fair, a few towns will get together and have it in a big town or a bigger town. And I went to a fall fair last week, the Spencerville Fall Fair, and it was just magnificent. It's just like, kids, rides, vegetables, animals, chickens, big, like different kinds of chickens. It's just amazing just to walk around and enjoy, just enjoy the local culture, and I did, and it was fantastic. I bought a couple of great books. I went to a bookstore in Spencerville, Ontario. There's this antique shop, right? It's basically this old guy in his house, and he removed all the walls, and it's just like a room filled with books and curios, and it smells like. It smells like old books. You walk in there and it smells like an old bookstore. And there's an old guy in there pottering around. And I walked in there. Last year I found a couple of good books on art there. And this year I went in just to see if there were any jewelry books. And I found 2. And one is this amazing book on rings. It's called Rings for the Finger by Frederick Kuntz. And it's like the super thick book about rings. It goes back to the history of rings. It's all in black and white line art and black and white pictures. Very few pictures, but it's old and detailed. So much data in this. So I'm going to bring this book. I'm going to bring the book data to you over the course of this podcast. It's just a lot of fantastic facts in this book. And then I bought another book on gem cutting from this old dude. He. I'm never going to be a gem cutter. I've done cabochons and tumbled stones and stuff. I'm not going to be a gem cutter, but it's always important if you're a designer to understand the components of the piece that you're designing. Like we as gemstones in our designs. So I want to know how cutters think about cutting gemstones. I think it's important to know all the different aspects of your product. Even though I'm never going to cut a gemstone, I want to know the thinking behind it and how it's done, generally speaking. I want to know the language that these guys use so you can communicate with them. Like if I want a stone cut a certain way, I'll be able to tell them. And this is why this book on gemstones is important. So if you're a jeweler and you're never going to cut gemstones, it's important to know how these things happen. And in this way, you can identify problems in your design and in your piece before you actually produce it. My amazing casting dude, Ed, he's like, he was often telling me, saying people would come bring in masters to cast and they just didn't understand the limitations of casting, and the pieces would fail, or they'd bring the master model in some weird resin that just wouldn't burn out in the cast or whatever. He said that people just don't understand the limitations. So you might as well buy a book on casting too. There's a few. Tim McCrate's book, The Complete Metalsmith, is good. Get that. And that sort of sums up casting. But you can search online about casting. If you're ever going to do any casting, not yourself, but if you're going to get a supplier to provide it, it's really wise to know how it's done. And that way you can communicate with them properly. You can understand when you get your piece back and there's something that's unusual about it, you can ask them about it. But the same with the gemstones is you know the limitations of stuff. If you study gem cutting a bit, you'll have a deeper knowledge about the stuff you use in your pieces. So anyway, I took these two books up to the counter, and the old guy was there, and it was Willie Nelson playing in the bookstore, some Willie Nelson track. And I looked at this dude, and he looked exactly like Willie Nelson. He does. He looks like Willie Nelson. So the Willie Nelson dude, sold me some really good books, used books that I'm gonna bring you. Let me, before I go, I'll leave you on a positive note here, because I'll leave you a knowledge nugget from the Friedrich Kuntz Rings for the Finger book. Did you know that rings are worn on specific fingers for a reason? You know why we wear the wedding band or the engagement ring on the fourth finger? I know it's tradition and all that, but the reason, according to this book, is that there's a nerve or vein that runs on the fourth finger that goes directly to the heart. And this is why the ring is put on this finger. Now, I don't know if this is the case. I'm going to look into it. But this is what the book says. So this is why the ring finger is used for wedding rings. So they were saying that a ring worn on the forefinger, a signet ring, could mean that the person was like an official of some kind, like a lawyer or somebody that would seal documents with his like signet ring on his forefinger, right? Somebody who was an official. So it was like a suit and tie of the day, maybe. And then the middle finger, it's like nothing is ever worn on the middle finger, it says, because if you wear something on the middle finger, it signifies that you're a fool. And this is what it says. This is the fool's finger. Nobody wears a ring on the middle finger. This is what this book is saying. And here I wear two. I wear a platinum band and a 22 karat gold band on my middle finger. So I guess I'm twice the fool as anyone else. But I'm not moving these rings. Let me tell you, I wear them there because they're comfortable and I like the way they look, fool or not. Anyway, that's it for me this week. Sorry about the reaming out of Mark Zuckerberg, but he deserves a good reaming, doesn't he? I think so. Anyway, I'm not going to say follow us on Instagram because I really don't give a fuck, but make note of our website. It's tribe.ca. The CA stands for Canada. Or send me an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. The website is where we can be found. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast, because you can count on us being here too. It's already episode 32. And oh God, it's only just getting started. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.